everyone hear me okay at the back? Yeah. So the story's called So Much Potential. Life is short, and this I keep for my children. Life is short and the world's at least half terrible, and this too I keep for my children. For every bird, there's a stone thrown at a bird. For every kind stranger, there is one who will break you. Some of you might recognize that as an excerpt from a poem called Good Bones by Maggie Smith. And TDL's mother's struggle with her decision to bring children into this world, even though she knows how broken it is. But it does end on a hopeful note. She goes on to say, though I keep this for my children, I am trying to sell them this world. Any decent realtor taking you through a real shithole goes on about its good bones. This place could be beautiful. You could make this place beautiful. You could make this place beautiful. We all know the world is terrible, but we all strive to make it better. It may be a shithole, but it's got good bones, right? There's no situation so dire, there's no place so bleak that we cannot see its potential. Then again, I don't know if Maggie Smith had ever been to Winnipeg. Lovely people aside, it's not much to look at. It's a pimple barely rising up above the surrounding prairie. For 8 months a year, the sun shines mockingly and ironically, breathtakingly bright, but generating no heat. Whatever good bones are to be found there, they're certainly buried deep within the permafrost. But in 1991, in the summer of my 19th year, I was given the job of trying to make this place beautiful. I was hired on to be one of the first Forks ambassadors. So for those of you people who are unfamiliar with Winnipeg, the Forks at the time was a new tourist attraction that was built at an archaeological site at an abandoned train yard where one river flowed into a slightly larger river, something that apparently happens nowhere else in nature. Looking for high-energy teens to help promote this attraction, they largely settled for terminally disaffected ones like myself, who could at least fake extroversion for a 15-minute interview. Outfitted with Panama hats, Bermuda shorts, lemon yellow t-shirts, and Ask Me Anything pins, we were tasked with taking tourists and locals alike to carry them from the parking lot to the various knick-knack stores and restaurants at the marketplace. But the highlight of the week was the arrival of the Canadian. The Canadian was a national cross-country train journey that took international tourists through a veritable cornucopia of Canadiana, starting in Vancouver's glorious Peak-lined harbor, winding its way east through the Fraser Valley, traversing the Rockies, winding its way past the postcard-perfect lakes of Jasper National Park, coasting then on through the bucolic farmlands and rolling hills of Alberta and Saskatchewan, before finally devolving into an hours-long trudge through monotonous Manitoba landscape, before finally arriving at the Forks, where they would no doubt be dazzled by the awe-inspiring majesty of watching one river flow into a slightly As ambassadors, we were tasked with helping to take these tourists and helping them disembark from the train and taking them to the marketplace. And most of the time, conversations took place in languages beyond my understanding. But one day, an elderly man turned to me and said, "I've never seen a place quite so beautiful." I stared at him somewhat quizzically and saying, "This place? After seeing the rest of Canada?" And he said, "I'm from Korea. I've seen tall mountains, I've seen valleys, I've seen lakes, I've seen beautiful places, but until a few hours ago, I have never been able to see forever. There's always been something in the way. You just needed to get everything out of the way. What I had seen as a vast, featureless expanse, he had seen as a canvas stretching out to the horizon in all directions. Something that is stark and so beautiful and full of so much potential." But a few months earlier, in the winter of my 19th year, I had driven out into that same vast, featureless expanse, heading north, past the hard line where the new houses that marked the edge of the city gave way to the winter prairie. I drove down unnamed country roads, hard packed with snow, making right turns followed by left turns until those houses were barely visible above the horizon. I brought my car to a stop and walked around to the trunk and pulled out an oversized garbage bag, one that was filled with all of my most prized possessions, all things that no self-respecting boy should have. It's full of all my women's clothing, all my dresses, all my wigs, my accessories, my cosmetics, a magpie's treasure trove of mismatched things and shiny objects and shiny things that I only had to make work for an audience of one. Something I knew I had to get rid of. I was going to be a doctor. I was going to be a success. I had so much potential. And I was not going to let this, whatever this was, ruin my life. It was time to grow up and be a man. I reared back and heaved that bag across the icy surface where I watched it slide for a bit before it settled into a slight depression. One I'd find myself joining itself in as it deepened over the spring and summer. But that evening, when I finished my shift at the Forks, I decided to make a pit stop at the local thrift store. I found a nice floral print dress with puff sleeves that caught my eye and black turtleneck underneath. I stopped at the drugstore, picked up some opaque tights, some press-on nails, some lipsticks, some eyeliner. I paid for it in cash and stuffed it in my bag. It was a Saturday night. I'd soon have to run to the house. I'd been growing my hair over the summer, reached just past my ears. Grabbing a razor, I made short work of a week's worth of stubble, shaking first down, and then up against the grain, feeling for the softness underneath. Grabbing my sister's brush, as I'd seen her do many times before, I curled my unruly hair into an oversized 90s style bang. I closed my eyes and opened them again, and looked in front of the bathroom mirror. I was not much to look at, that's for sure. But I had good bones, and I could be beautiful. I could make myself beautiful if I could just get everything out of the way and see myself not for who I was, but as someone with so much potential. Thank you.